Welcome to Lead with Linnea, where we talk about real leadership for real people in the real world. I'm Linnea Rader, and I've spent 2 decades in public service leadership, from accounting to my current role as the Director of Finance and Human Resources. I've seen pretty much everything: the spectacular successes, the painful failures, and everything in between that makes leadership both challenging and incredibly rewarding. Here's the thing. Leadership is not reserved for people with fancy titles or corner offices. Every single one of us can be a leader in our personal and professional lives. Whether you're managing a team of 50 or just trying to figure out how to navigate office politics, whether you're a frontline worker or sitting around a boardroom table, leadership skills matter. My approach? I skip the fluff and get straight to what really works. You won't find theoretical frameworks or feel-good platitudes here. Instead, you'll get practical, tested strategies from someone who's been in the trenches, made the mistakes, and learned the hard lessons so that you don't have to. Through Lead with Linnea, I provide leadership development training and coaching because I'm passionate about helping people discover their authentic leadership potential. And honestly, some days you need to laugh to keep from crying, and some days you just need someone to tell you the truth about what leadership really looks like. So whether you're listening while you commute, taking a walk, or just need someone to remind you that you've got this, I'm here for you. So let's dive in and talk about what it really takes to lead with authenticity, impact, and maybe a little bit of sanity. Ready? Let's go. The weekly leadership ritual. How 30 minutes on Friday can transform your week. So let me paint you a picture of my past self. Friday afternoon, 4:30, my desk looks like a paper explosion. 15 browser tabs open, unread emails stacking up, post-it notes stuck to everything. My brain is already halfway to the weekend, but there is this nagging feeling in my gut that I'm forgetting something important. I'd shut down my computer, head home, and spend my entire weekend with this low-level anxiety humming in the background. What was I forgetting? What fire was I going to walk into Monday morning? Was there something urgent buried in that mess on my desk? Sunday night insomnia became my norm. I'd lie there at 2 a.m. trying to mentally list everything I needed to handle on Monday. The job felt overwhelming, endless, and like I was always playing catch-up. So here's the thing. The job hasn't gotten easier since then. There aren't fewer demands. I haven't magically gotten more hours in the day. So what changed? Well, I learned to stop for 30 minutes every Friday afternoon. The leadership ritual that saves your sanity. My end of the week ritual is going to seem almost embarrassingly simple, but it took me a while to figure out how necessary it really was, and even longer to actually make myself do it consistently. As I near the end of my work week, I take time to review the stacks on my desk and the emails I have left unread. Read that carefully. I am not saying I wrap everything up. I'm not saying I complete every task and clear every inbox. I'm saying I review what's out there still. Because here's the reality. Everything is never always done. If you're waiting for a completely clear desk and an empty inbox before you can take a breath, you're going to be waiting forever. So what leadership coaching taught me? I've talked in previous blog posts all about the amazing leadership coaching I received. One of the many valuable takeaways from that coaching was understanding how my messy desk and my lack of confidence about what was actually in those stacks was creating my anxiety. It was causing me sleepless nights, making everything take longer because I get distracted by the nagging feeling of the unknown. That constant mental load about what am I forgetting was draining my energy and my effectiveness. The coach didn't tell me to work harder, stay later to get everything done. He helped me understand that I needed to create systems that let me know where things stood, even if they weren't all complete. So what I'm actually looking for. When I do my Friday review, I'm not trying to finish everything. I'm making sure there's no fire smoldering that's going to derail my weekend. Nothing I've forgotten that'll enter my brain as I attempt to sleep Friday or Saturday night. I'm looking for that email from an official that needs a response before Monday, the personnel issue that's been sitting too long without follow-up, the project deadline I committed to that's coming faster than I realized, the budget question someone asked that I meant to get back to. Not so I can necessarily handle all of it right then, but so I know what's there. So I can make conscious decisions about what can wait until Monday and what actually needs attention before I leave. There's a massive difference between I'm leaving this until next week because I've assessed it and it can wait, and I'm leaving this until next week because I forgot it existed. One of those lets you actually enjoy your weekend. The other guarantees Sunday night anxiety. The reflection that drives improvement. But the Friday leadership ritual isn't just about reviewing what's undone. It's also about reflecting on what just happened. This weekly reflection ensures you can take on the next week with success instead of just stumbling through crisis after crisis on repeat. What wins did you have with your team this week? With yourself? What losses? What seemed to cause you or your team to struggle or get frustrated? A lot of times there's something small that causes the frustration and struggle. A question that wasn't asked. A knowledge gap that existed. Two people working on similar projects without even knowing it. A process that's outdated, but everyone just keeps following it because that's how it's always been done. When you're moving at full speed from Monday morning through Friday afternoon, you don't catch these patterns. You just feel perpetually frustrated, and you don't even know why. But when you pause for 30 minutes, suddenly you see it. Oh, we struggled this week because 3 different people asked me the same question about the new purchasing procedure. I need to send out a clarification email or update the documentation. Or this project took twice as long as it should have because Sarah and Mike were both working on parts of it without even realizing the other one was involved. I need to improve how we're communicating project assignments. These are fixable problems, but only if you stop long enough to identify them. The cost of never pausing. No pause creates burnout. Everything takes longer. You make the same mistakes repeatedly. You miss opportunities to improve systems and processes. I watched a colleague once who prided herself on being constantly busy. She was right there every morning and the last to leave every evening. She answered emails at all hours. She wore her busyness like a badge of honor. She was also constantly stressed, frequently made errors because she was rushing, and kept having the same problems come up over and over. She'd complain about being overwhelmed, about how much there was to do, and how she couldn't keep up. But she refused to take 15 minutes to step back and assess. Too busy, she'd say. I don't have time for that. The irony? Not taking the time to pause and reflect was exactly what was keeping her trapped in that cycle. She was so focused on fighting fires that she never stopped to figure out how to prevent them. Eventually, she burned out completely. The person who replaced her worked shorter hours, seemed far less stressed, and got more done. The difference? She built in regular reflection time. The I'm too busy trap. I know what some of you are thinking. That sounds nice, Linnea, but I don't have 30 minutes to spare on Friday afternoon. I'm already drowning. I get it. We all have work to do. A never-ending list of to-dos, wish lists, and urgent matters. We have people depending on us. There's never enough time for everything. But here's what you must understand. You must create time for reflection. Even just the 30 minutes at the end of the week will save you 5 times that much over the weekend and the following week. Those Sunday night anxiety spirals, they can take hours. The Monday morning scramble when you realized you forgot something important, that's easily an hour of crisis management. The time you waste during the week because you're operating without a clear picture of your priorities, it adds up fast. 30 minutes of intentional review and reflection is one of the highest return investments you can make in your leadership effectiveness. What happens when you don't look up? Moving from crisis to crisis, you never stop to consider what other people could be doing, or even better, what other people could be learning. I've written posts about the need for leaders to understand the positive impacts of delegation. Here's something that will hinder that progression: working without breathing. If you're literally running from fire to fire to fire, you're never going to figure out how to prevent them, and you'll never figure out how to train someone else to help you in your journey and build them up. I realized this about 6 months into a particularly intense period at work. I was handling everything myself because it was faster, and I didn't have time to explain things to everyone else. Every week, the same issues would land on my desk. Every week, I'd handle them. Every week, I'd complain about being overwhelmed. It took my Friday review practice to finally see the pattern. I was handling the same categories of issues over and over. Issues that my team members were perfectly capable of handling if I just took the time to teach them the process. So I started using some of my Friday time differently. Instead of just noting what needed to be done the next week, I'd identify what could be delegated and to whom. Then the next week, instead of diving into everything myself, I'd take 15 minutes to teach someone how to handle one of those reoccurring issues. Within a month, my workload had notably decreased. Within 3 months, my team was handling things I'd been doing for years. Not because I suddenly had more time, but because I created the space to see the patterns and make strategic choices. Your Friday ritual framework. So here's what I recommend for your 30-minute Friday practice. Minutes 1 to 10, the desk email review. Look at what's still pending, not to finish it all, but to know what's there. Identify any fires that need putting out before you leave. Make peace with what can wait until Monday. Then minutes 11 to 15, the week in review. What were your wins? What were your team's wins? What frustrated you or slowed you down? What patterns did you notice? Minutes 16 to 25, the learning capture. What did you learn this week? What would you do differently next time? What small process improvements could you make? Who could you delegate something to? And then the last 5 minutes, minutes 26 to 50, the next week setup. What are your top 3 priorities for next week? Is there anything you need to prepare for? Anyone you need to connect with? Block time on your calendar for what matters most. That's it. 30 minutes. One focused half hour that sets you up for a better weekend and a more effective following week. So the transformation. What's changed for me since I started this practice? The job hasn't gotten any easier. The demands have not lessened, but I sleep better on Sunday nights. I start my Monday mornings with clarity instead of chaos. I catch small problems before they become big disasters. I actually learn from my experiences instead of just surviving them. I am less reactive and more strategic. I delegate more effectively. I can actually tell you what my team accomplished each week instead of just feeling like we're all drowning together. And most importantly, I enjoy my weekends. I'm present with my family instead of mentally cataloging work concerns. That low-level anxiety that used to be my constant companion, it's gone. All because of 30 minutes every Friday. So your challenge. This Friday, before you shut down for the weekend, give yourself 30 minutes. Close your door if you have one. Silence your notifications. Review what's pending. Reflect on what happened and think about what you learned. It's going to feel really indulgent at first. You're going to think about all the other things you could be doing with that time. Your brain is going to try to convince you that you're too busy for this. Do it anyway, because the leaders who pause are the ones who progress. The leaders who reflect are the ones who improve, and the leaders who create space to think are the ones who eventually stop running from fire to fire and actually start preventing them. Your Friday ritual might seem basic, but basic doesn't mean insignificant. Sometimes the simplest practices create the most profound changes. So do you have an end of the week ritual? What helps you transition from work mode to weekend mode while ensuring you're set up for success? Share those practices in the comments. Thank you for joining me today on Lead with Linnea. I hope something we talked about resonates with you and gives you a tool you can actually use in your leadership journey. Remember, leadership isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional, authentic, and willing to keep learning and growing. You're going to face situations you never saw coming. Make decisions that feel impossible, and sometimes wonder if you're cut out for this whole leadership thing. It's normal, it's human, and that's exactly why we need leaders like you who are willing to do the hard work. If today's episode sparked some ideas about training or coaching for you or your team, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me at leadwithlinnea@leadwithlinnea.com or give me a call at 269-621-5282. Whether you're looking for one-on-one coaching, team training, or need someone to speak at your next event, let's talk about how we can help you and your people become the leaders your organization needs. You can find more resources, read my blog post, and learn more all about my services at leadwithlinnea.com. As always, carry social kindness with you everywhere you go. This world needs you and your positive mindset. Until next time, keep leading and keep growing.